What's good with the YouTube? You already know Big Flocker with a convict's perspective, and I'm gonna smash, dash, and slide on through that little bit of energy. Please hit the like, subscribe, comment, do all those things to help support this channel, man, and hit that bell notification for future fire content. And today we're gonna be discussing a very interesting topic. I've been doing a lot of research into this, right? And I've always tried to, look into like how other prison gangs maybe operate, in other states. Which states would have more besides Texas. Texas, I'm a little more familiarized with, right? But outside of Texas and California and even Arizona, which areas have a huger area of prison gang, activity and operations and whatnot? There's one state, right? Besides Georgia and what's going on in Atlanta and all those states over there, right? There's one state that over the last 30 years has had a huge change, right? In the prison gang, prison lifestyle, and the criminal operations out there in the streets. Some of these are homegrown, right? Some of them come from Cali, Chicago, Midwest, and whatnot, right? Some are even come from Mexico, and that is Oklahoma. Oklahoma has had a huge change within the prison system and the streets out there for basic control of all the rackets and criminal activity out there. Now, we're going to start off with a couple of these different ones. You have the Universal Aryan Brotherhood, which was formed around 1993. And I think that their main prison is where their headquarters is at. I think it's in a place called McAllister, Oklahoma. Okay, now they run by a 12-man main council, which oversees all directions of the movement. I think one of their leaders, main leaders, is an individual named Bulldog. They've been in the news previously over a lot of indictments that recently happened, over bodies that were being found or come up missing, drug trafficking, gun trafficking, and whatnot, as early as this year. Okay. Now, the only other white gang, right, is the Irish Mob. Irish Mob also was established in the early 1990s. For a while, they had a coexisting. Then they were at war for a little bit, and then some of them got caught up in this recent indictment as well. I think in total they had about 270 people actually indicted in one indictment that went down this year. And this is all indictments that range from 2018 till the current moment. So they were really out there extremely in the mix, right? Now, they operate like any other gangs out there in the streets, but they had a whole goal to focus upon territorial out there in the streets. The Irish Mob started in Tulsa. The Universal Aryan Brotherhood, from my understanding, was patterned after the AB of California, right? But they just pretty much changed it into their own faction. And they've also been able to go into other states. Now, there's another group called the Indian Brotherhood, which is a Native American group. Now, these individuals are very treacherous. Man, they're known for tying up women, killing them on the spots, holding people for ransom, and they operate under a similar type of structure, but their whole focus is mainly on the reservation to control the drug trade and rackets that occur within those environments, man. And they have no remorse for basically anybody. They'll kill at will. They'll use women. They'll use anybody. Now, this all comes from me investigating into a lot of these different cases. And if you look over the last 8 years, all these groups have a whole lot of different cases. Now, within the Hispanic culture, right? Now, of course, you're going to have some Latin Kings out there, Norteños and whatnot, but they're, the Sureños are going to probably be more the predominant group because there's a gang out there that's pretty well known that's called Southside Locals. There's a couple of gangs from California that have established bases out there. And Southside Locals just recently got indicted with about 69 people for trafficking dope all the way from Mexico into Oklahoma. They had a big indictment. Now, they follow under the Sud Bandera. So they follow basically under the MA. I don't know if there's any MA members out there in Oklahoma, but the Southside Locals is one of three big Hispanic gangs out there, overall collective. So when I look at the SSLs, I look at them as a branch off the Sureños, but they almost have their own type of structure. They're homegrown. They're from Oklahoma, but they're Sureños. And they even have a little bit different stilo. Some of them have that old school Cholo slang, but then some of them have this little Oklahoma thing that's just a little bit different. Now, you have this other one called Barrio Grande Central, right? And there's another Barrio Grande Locals, I think. Now, they have their roots all the way back to Juarez. Now, they don't care if you're a Sureño or Norteño. They operate on their own. Now, I don't know how established they are, you know what I'm saying, in the system, but you know what I mean? There's a lot of different cars that are in there because you also have the Savage Boys as well, which is another group. You know, there's been an incident where the Savage Boys and Sureños got into it in the yard as far back as 2019. Now, I don't know if they operate as far as the Savage Boys or Barrio Grande, if they're just street gangs, but they're street gangs with presence in Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? Um, like I said, man, you got Latin Kings out there from Chicago. You have the black groups. You don't have a black prison gang that's operating out there, but you have groups like the Gangster Disciples. You have the Crips, the Bloods, the Vice Lords. Every black faction is basically right there in Oklahoma. And a lot of it goes all the way back to the you know what I'm saying, some of the businesses that were being able to operate, the cannabis, as well as it's a large market for those out there to generate income. So pretty much you got a whole lot of people that are freelancing trying to get their income, but you got these groups that are trying to control it. Like I said, Universal Aryan Brotherhood, very deep as far as in the mix. Irish Mob, you know what I'm saying? Indian Brotherhood. And then you got all those people who come in between who came from Cali to set up shop out there. Now there's also a lot of turmoil within these groups. Sureños out there kind of have gotten into it as well because you have the homegrown Sureños, right, going against a lot of these individuals that are coming from out of state. I think Florencia is one of the more stronger chapters that they have out there as far as in Oklahoma. Now you got Oklahoma City and you got Tulsa. And then around that you have a whole lot of surrounding fucking areas. But in estimate, man, you have no one group that's in particular in control because there's so many sub-factions and sub-factions within. You're going to have those that are Sureños, and you're going to have those that are Oklahoma grown that are not Sureños. You're going to have people that are Latin Kings. You're going to have some other people. You're going to have, like I said, the two different white factions. Just because traditionally the white groups got along in Oklahoma, there's also been times where they've been at war with each other. Then you have a whole lot of different black factions there. This is just a melting pot, And since the 1990s, there's been an increase of activity out there in Oklahoma. You think Oklahoma, okay, what's really going on out there? There's a whole lot of activity. A lot of people from California were migrating to different areas in the Midwest, be it the cheaper way of living, certain work that was offered out there. And now there's a different level of opportunity out there. You have Oklahoma, you have Utah, and you have Colorado. So you have 3 states right there that are starting to have a huge, not only Latino base, right, but California base as well. And so what comes from that is a lot of fucking egos. You got individuals, well, this is Oklahoma, this is where we're from, you ain't running shit. And then you got those that come from California that want to have that superior role. And then you got those that come through that they're finessing their way, establishing resources and establishing shop. There's right ways and wrong ways to go about it. You can either go in there and try to stronghold dudes, or you could be about their business. So they've had, like I said, man, there's been, stabbings, killings, all kinds of things. Prison officer aided the Universal Aryan Brotherhood, man. You got a hell of time, man. There's all kinds of stuff that's been going on, man. Like I said, you also had a riot that created a lockdown 2 years ago between Sureños, Baisas, and the AB as well there, man. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different stuff going on, man. And see, in Oklahoma, the white groups are getting a lot of support from a lot of the guards that work in these facilities because the majority of them are white. It's kind of going to be interesting to see what develops here because I'm looking at this as kind of like Georgia. We know about Georgia prison system and whatnot, is there's a lot of activity going on down there. A lot of people are getting killed. They do not have the means to manage these prisons, and with the amount of groups that are there. Like think about this, man. You have all these different groups and you have your homegrown groups, and everybody's pretty much fucking competing for territorial rights, establishment, and whatnot. And so if one of these groups starts to succeed, it's going to give birth to other groups. So you have like the Sureños there, you have the white factions, you have the native factions, the blacks eventually probably will establish their own faction. You have certain other groups that are home traditionally grown from Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be a fucking melting pot for more wars, for more fucking competition in the drug trade. And they're taking this stuff out there to the streets. They're looking at Oklahoma as a very lucrative area, you know, and you already got to remember what's going on with the federal system. You got those groups in the feds that are having people that they're recruiting from these areas, and they're sitting out there to set up shop as well. So everybody wants a piece of the pie. So expect continuous violence to occur out there in the streets. You know, you've already had the Universal Aryan Brotherhoods wanted for missing bodies, like a crazy case I was reading about it, man. They were doing some big things out there. And then you got these groups. You got two different sides. You got the Barrio Grande Central and the Southsiders out there who are also trying to compete for territory out there, man. Will the Barrio Grande Central continue to remain independent? Because I listened to a song by them where they say fuck 1-3 and fuck 1-4. You know what I'm saying? They're on their own. Will that continue? Will that give birth to another faction, kind of like how the Tango Blast is out there in Texas? I don't know. But stay tuned. Do a little research into it, because I found a lot of interesting material, man, that would make me believe that Oklahoma is basically on the rise. Now, I'm going to touch base a little bit about Utah in the future and Colorado, and as well as what's going on out there in Georgia, man. But I thought Oklahoma was an interesting one, because when you think of Oklahoma, you don't think of a fucking market that you got all these fucking gangs trying to compete to control. But it's actually happening out there. With that said, I'm gone.